get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult.
Hi everybody, welcome to Retro Station 1989. I'm Commander Dan, the commander and lone human inhabitant aboard the Retro Station, and this is License to Play, where we evaluate old retro games that are based on licensed products. Comic books, movies, chicken McNuggets, soft drinks, you name it. Hell, if a bank put out a video game, we'll go ahead and evaluate it. Give us some comments down below and some suggestions of retro games you think we would like to make a little evaluation of. We evaluate these for you, and for me, and for all mankind, and for the sponsors at Planet X. Okay, so today we go for cancellation. Since controversy builds careers and drama drives subscribers, what we're going to talk about is a game so toxic, I couldn't mention the franchise it's from, because honestly, the very mention of this license's creator could get the Retro Station shot out of the sky. Canceled. Permanently.
What could possibly be that toxic, Commander Dan?
Cambot. Junior. Little buddy. This is the year 2023. This isn't the caveman-like past of 1988, or 89, or 99 even. We've evolved. And this creator's crimes against humanity offset the title, but we have a job to do, and today, I'm sorry to my more sensitive viewers, but our story begins 1928, a time of political turmoil. The world held its breath as the European Axis powers regathered their strength lost during World War I. And amid this political turmoil, one of the most evil men with a mustache, a vile racist, and just the worst in the history of anything ever, rose to significance. Oh yes, we all know who we're thinking about. Walter Elias Disney.
Dramatic reverb.
What? Oh, you're probably thinking of another jerk, but to hear the world tell it today, Walt Disney was practically an American Bundist supporting the National Socialist Party from abroad. But that wasn't him. That was Henry Ford. Look, apparently we need to scrutinize the dead as hard as we can these days, to be sure of their moral purity before we enjoy some cartoon they made. Of course, if a ton of people were pointing out the flaws of someone and making a huge frickin' deal about it, I would also be curious as to what the hell they're trying to distract people from in their own backyards. Guessing they may have some hidden bodies themselves, you know? Anyways, this evil prick created, with the help of his very good friend Ub Iwerks, who's an evil prick by association, and I would say anti-Semite, but the fellow was Jewish, this little guy. And who's that little guy?
Oh, that little guy. I wouldn't worry about that little guy.
Why, it's one Michael Theodore Mouse, the unholy creation of the world's most disgusting racist that ever lived. Worse than like the Grand Dragon of the Klan or the leader of the really racist people club. With a K, I guess. This mouse starred in one of the first animated shorts with actual sound. Not just music, but almost word gibberish and noises and Foley. It was fully produced, basically. And it sounded like dog shit. Dog shit being recorded inside a Depression-era coffee can. But anyways, from there we got comics, cartoons, TV shows about how he was drawn, full magical kingdoms stacked to the brim with racist-ass rabbits and bears and foxes with roller coasters and delicious-ass turkey legs. Now, Mickey Mouse has been licensed into nigh oblivion. Seriously. Licensing Mickey Mouse for products that make no goddamn sense has been going on since the 20s. Coffee storage jars to toothbrushes to caskets, maybe? Oh boy. Anyway, Mickey Mouse knows how to shill for whatever product he's slapped on, believe you me. So, this week, though we stand on the precipice of permanent cancellation midnight, we're going to be reviewing the product of the worst human who ever lived. That's right. Never has there been a more wicked and awful person to have walked the earth next to the guy who invented jumping puzzles or escort missions. That guy is in the worst parts of hell, I'm sure. No, we're going to be talking about a video game based upon his wretched vermin that has for too long been swaying our innocent youths and their brains and their tender sensibilities. And today we evaluate it and destroy it and his evil legacy. For once and for schnizzle. But Has he? Really? I mean, people say that Mickey Mouse's ears and the Mickey Mouse logo is the most recognized logo on the planet, but they don't probably even know that that's a mouse. I mean, there's a new Mickey Mouse cartoon out now that has all the flavor of the old school Mickey cartoons, but none of the racism, I think. I haven't actually watched it, but seriously, I don't think kids fawn over Mickey like they did when I was a kid. And was Walt Disney racist? Was your great-granddad? Well, if you're white, yeah, probably. And your grandparents? Maybe. But even if they aren't, if they're still around, mention the TV show All in the Family, and they'll grouse that it no longer exists in this cancel culture, quote-unquote. And if you're not white, it's still a better than even shot that they'll have something to say about white folks as well. Because they're probably as racist as most people of Walt Disney's generation. That is to say, not hateful, just racially insensitive. And since there was no pushback for being that way, they simply remained insensitive. Was Walt Disney remorseful for the images in his 30s cartoons that pushed anti-Semitic sentiment? Well, no one can know his heart. But he did confess to his Jewish and black friends that he wished he could have been better sooner. The accusation of anti-Semitism has hung like a black cloud over the Disney name since long before he died. During the communist witch hunts, he took advantage of the scare to break unions that would have cost him money. Greedy? Oh, hell yes. Callous? Oh, of course. But when it was clear that this was an evil thing to be doing and it was connected to a very anti-Semitic program going on, he basically stopped doing it. He just didn't do it anymore. He donated Jewish charities in his life, hired and retained Jewish employees. Ub Iwerks, honestly, was a Jewish friend of his. He also advocated for a black man winning an Oscar and more. Yeah, he was bad. He was also good. Basically, he was complicated and remorseful of the harm that he'd done. Sounds like the dude was human. But his mouse? Mickey Mouse is imaginary, guys. And as far as I can tell, not a criminally racist turd. Yet. But it's still early days. I mean, they just got Donald Duck on that racism. But anyway, today we're evaluating a game that has haunted me since showing it on the very first episode of License to Play, piled with its Disney fellows. We're talking about this. Do you see this? Yeah, this is Mickey Mousecapade by Capcom for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was released in October of 1988. A year before the Retro Station's immaculate conception. This game has a ton of critics. Well, let's take a look and see why that might be, other than the obvious, that Walt Disney was the most putrid human who ever farted into existence. Capcom was a huge mover of software on the NES, and held the Disney license for all of the NES's run, and for part of the Super Nintendo's run as well. I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest hits for the NES. DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck, games I've evaluated here in the past because I was avoiding the very first NES game Capcom released under the Disney banner, Mickey Mousecapade, or it was known in Japan, Mickey Mouse Adventures in Wonderland. It has Mickey and Minnie Mouse searching for a kidnapped Alice from Alice in Wonderland. The game is either single player or two players, and two players is a blessing since Minnie Mouse doesn't have the same habit of getting kidnapped over and over and over again. The game plays out over 5 levels. The funhouse, the ocean, the woods, the pirate ship, and the castle. The music's good, sound effects are fine. You'll face off with enemies both weird and wacky and generic, and some from famous Disney cartoons. The crocodile from Peter Pan, they're in there. But this all culminates in you battling the evil queen, basically from Sleeping Beauty, chibi-eyed and easily beaten. The game is not long. It's about 20 minutes start to finish if you know which doors to go through in the forest part. This game is very much for little kids. And the graphics for this are wonky. I mean, they're serviceable, but compare these graphics to, say, this, DuckTales, or Rescue Rangers. You can tell that Capcom farmed this out to someone, and they did. They farmed it out to Hudson Soft. They designed it and it has a very Hudson Soft feel. When you know that, you understand why the game plays and has that retread feel. Like RoboCop, that licensed piece of hot trash. It feels cheaply made, and folks, that's really no good, even for Mickey Mouse. So given that the graphics look like Adventure Island hand-me-downs, the audio bleeps and blorps like a Simon game with Tourette's syndrome sometimes, with barely serviceable controls, I guess only one question really remains. And that question is the obvious. Does Mickey Mousecapade by Capcom have a license to play? Nah. And it's not for the reasons you might think. I mean, like I said, Disney was complicated. His products are complicated. Mickey Mouse isn't all that complicated, and this game is about the same as Mickey Mouse. Old, flat, dry, and by the way, Sasha, I'm sorry that I now have your game, but it's clear you had dirtbag friends, because your mom wrote on the front and back of this box. So Sasha, here's to you and your copy of Mickey Mousecapade. No, you can't have it back. I bought it fair and square with American money, and damn it, that's what we do aboard the Retro Station. We buy old games and review them. So, it's mine now. But for real, no, that one is not getting a license to play. In fact, if you find it and you're curious, check it out. But if you want to guess why it's not that great, just understand why it's not in the Disney Afternoon collection. It's not in any collection. Maybe a garbage collection? I don't know. I only keep that thing around for nostalgia's sake. I mean, you're better off with any other number of Capcom Disney titles, or with the Disney Afternoon Collection, as I said. It's still available on PSN, and I believe some folks can get it online on Steam. It's worth a look, and many of the games there are great. In fact, we reviewed it here on this show. So now, if we're not canceled by now or whatever, I'm going to talk to our new holographic advisor, which, as I understand it, has been amalgamated from the breadth of professional wrestling wisdom. Seeing as our last hologram advisor was like a broken Jean-Luc Picard, and we use that to detonate an evil dominator race of aliens and destroy their entire society, well, I can't wait to see how this one turns out. So next week, we'll throw a question that way, but if we're canceled, it's been an honor evaluating for you and my sponsors on Planet X. Now, more than what I've said during this broadcast, which may get me canceled, or in the past or in the future. First of all, don't judge me on the past. That was a different time. Earlier in the broadcast, also a different time. But in all seriousness, remember to always, always, always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. You're more than my 4-year-old, I'm actually amazed. Like you couldn't even see the forest for the trees. The writing's on the wall, literally that a seed. How you getting salted, a culture blowing up, man? I think there was a point where you stopped growing up, man. Instead of showing up, man, irrationally mad. Don't appropriate impression like the latest fashion fad. It isn't cool or funny to be acting like an edgelord. You alienate friends, pushing closer to the edge more. I don't know how to say it anyway to make it clear. If you're the one unhappy, then the problem's in the mirror. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. The net is a repository for the vast expanses of human knowledge and all the technological advances, and I can't say enough how you gotta be open-minded. If you're looking for a fight, then you damn well find it. An axe needs grinding, you're not alone. There's a million other nerds who can bitch and moan and groan about how there's a release date delay of the new game. Man, decrease the cliche of your neckbeard. I'm afeared of the intensity of your love for two characters. You claim I've got some chemistry and they belong together. Every other ship is toast. Call you Cortez when you're like, burn the boat. Said your ship is sunk and you stunk like the blogger who insisted to you. The review versus Harry Potter versus Julia Roberts. The latter's the victor. You're about to make a victim of some asshole hipster. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. S-A-L-T. S-A-L-T. You look stupid, a real ass. When they heard your rant, the people laugh. But please stop, for abort. You're whining like you wanna win some award. S-A-L-T. You're a salt adult. 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 You're a salt adult.